There is a man in Zimbabwe. When he walks on stage, the whole nation stops. They call him the Sungura King. Today, you will discover how a boy from Zimbabwe's townships mastered the bass guitar and built a legacy that no one could erase in under 10 minutes. But here is what most people never ask. Before the sold-out shows, before the Simbaradzo, there was a boy with nothing but hunger and a dream. How did he do it? Zimbabwe, a land of ancient rhythms. Music here is not entertainment. It is memory. It is identity. It is the pulse of the people. And in the townships, one genre ruled the dance floor. Sungura, fast, electric, joyful. A rhythm so infectious, it does not ask you to dance. It forces you. Into this world, Alick Macheso was born. Not into wealth, not into privilege. Into a family that knew hardship the way most people know their own name. Resources were scarce. Formal music training, out of reach. But young Alick had something no classroom could give. He had ears that heard everything, and hands that remembered. Of all the instruments he could have chosen, Alick chose the bass guitar, the spine of Sungura, the instrument most musicians treat as background. He heard it differently. He heard it as the lead. They started calling him Extra Basso, because what he played on that bass, it was not just rhythm, it was melody, it was conversation. It was something nobody had heard in Sungura before. To sharpen his craft, Alick joined one of Zimbabwe's great Sungura groups, the Khiama Boys, alongside a fellow giant, Nicholas Zakaria. This was his university. This was where he became dangerous. Two future legends, one band. The creative tension between Macheso and Zakaria did not break them. It forged them. Zimbabwe's greatest Sungura era was being born inside that rehearsal room. But a man with a vision this size could not stay in someone else's dream forever. Macheso made the bold decision. He would go solo. He would build his own orchestra. He named his band Orchestra Mberikwazvo. The name itself was a declaration, a Shona word meaning, roughly, to pursue something with everything you have, and he meant it. He was not just a frontman, he was the bass guitarist, playing lead and holding the groove simultaneously. Night after night, he rehearsed his musicians until the sound was exactly right. And then there were the lyrics. Macheso sang in Shona, rich with proverbs, with wisdom, with life. His songs were not just songs. They were conversations your grandmother wished she had started. His early albums began to travel, across townships, across borders. Magariro, a title about life's journey, became a touchstone. Zimbabwe was beginning to take notice. When Orchestra Mberikwazvo played live, something extraordinary happened. People did not just dance, they surrendered. The music took them somewhere words cannot follow. His live shows were legendary for their duration. Hours of music, hours of dancing. The crowd did not want him to stop, and Macheso never wanted to stop giving. And then, there was the footwork. Fans called it the Borrowdale. Intricate, precise, danced with rhythmic footsteps that seemed impossible while playing bass simultaneously. How? He was playing melodic bass lines and leading the crowd and performing choreography all at once. That is not a musician. That is a force of nature. And then came Simbaradzo, the album that crossed every line, that reached every ear, that Zimbabwe, the whole Zimbabwe, claimed as its own. The songs on Simbaradzo tackled love, real love, loyalty, perseverance, pain. In proverbs so precise, listeners felt seen, not entertained, seen. In Harare, venues could not contain the demand. Queues stretched around the block. People traveled from rural areas just to witness him live. This was not a concert. This was a pilgrimage. And the music did not stop at Zimbabwe's borders. Zimbabweans in the UK, in South Africa, in Australia, wherever they gathered, Macheso played. He was the sound of home, in a strange land. What struck people who met Macheso was not the fame, it was the humility. He remembered where he came from. He carried the township with him, even on the grandest stages. He did not guard his secrets, he shared them. Young musicians who came to Macheso, he listened, he taught, he lifted. His legacy was not just in records, it was in people. But the road was not smooth. Zimbabwe's economy brought hardship to the music industry. Shows were difficult, resources dried up. And yet, Macheso never left the stage. What kept Orchestra Mberikwazvo together through the hard years was loyalty. Macheso treated his musicians not as employees. He treated them as family. That bond, it came through in every performance. Musicians studied Macheso's bass lines the way scholars study ancient texts. The speed, the melodic intelligence, the way each line told a story inside the story. Zimbabwe's instrument landscape was permanently changed. And here is something we want to know from you. Was there a Macheso song that changed your life? Drop it in the comments right now. Because we know there was one. Zimbabweans at every level recognized what Macheso represented, from the townships to the capital, from the diaspora to the homeland. He was not just a musician. He was national pride in human form. Africa's griots carried history for centuries. In their voices lived memory, wisdom, warning. Macheso, without ever using the title, became Zimbabwe's griot, the keeper of stories, the voice of the people. Decades on, Macheso still performs, still plays that bass, still drives crowds into a frenzy. The Sungura king does not retire. He evolves, and Zimbabwe dances. Still, always. His greatest album is not on a shelf. It is in the hearts of everyone who ever danced to Orchestra Mberikwazvo. Every generation that learned his Shona proverbs. Every young bassist who heard extra basso and believed the impossible. Sungura, Zimbabwe's gift to the world, and at its center, forever, the man they called extra basso. The township boy who played so beautifully that a whole nation stopped to listen. Africa has always produced greatness. It has never needed permission. Alick Macheso proved that again. The Sungura king, Zimbabwe's own, unstoppable. If this story moved you, subscribe to Legends of Africa. Because we are not just making videos. We are restoring memory. We are bringing the stories home. Subscribe now. The journey continues.